We have some people arriving. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to wait just a few minutes, see if we can get some more folks tuning in. Love for you to say hello as you check in and join us. Yeah, sit here for a couple of minutes and enjoy these fish swimming around before we take a stroll down through the gallery here to our destination of the day. If there's any insiders who are watching right now and they said, hey, wait a minute, you said Lake Tanganyika and this is Fly River, what's going on? Well, thought we'd start here and then walk down through Rivers of the World to the Lake Tanganyika exhibit, just to give folks a little chance to check in and get with us. Aaron, hi, thanks for joining us all the way from Birmingham, Alabama. Glad to have you watching today. We're going to get started here in just a couple minutes. We've got a great expert, Kimberly Hurt, who's going to be joining us momentarily to talk about the Lake Tanganyika exhibit. Keep seeing our numbers climbing here. Thanks everybody for joining. We're going to get started here in just a couple minutes. Want to give people an opportunity to get settled in and get ready to watch. We've got some great information to pass along. And guess what? We're going to be doing some feeding. That's right. We're going to feed the Lake Tanganyika exhibit. Justine, wow, thanks for watching. Pennsylvania. Ashley, thanks for watching from Signal Mountain. Let us know where you're at. Let us know if you have your kids watching. Let us know what their ages are. We'd love to say hello to everybody. This is great. We're starting here in the Rivers of the World Gallery, which is the River Journey building, and we're going to take a stroll down through the gallery. All the way, we're headed around the world today. From the Amazon River to the Volga River, all the way to Lake Tanganyika. Here's another Amazon River exhibit. The piranhas are doing well. You can see them swimming around. Guess who else is swimming around making a little bit of noise this morning? Our old friend Miguel Watson, the electric eel. We'll take a peek in at Miguel before we head to Lake Tanganyika. Hello, Miguel. 3 kids. Welcome, Colton, Blake, and Lacey. Thanks for watching. Rachel, thanks for watching. Ed, glad to have you from Panama City. Here's Miguel Watson. Kingsport, glad to have you with us. Shiloh and Josiah, thanks for watching. Nathan, Ben, Western North Carolina, we sure appreciate you watching. Here we go to the Malibu Pool exhibit. This is Rivers of the World in the Tennessee Aquarium's River Journey building. The Nishigoy exhibit. Storm, River, Fentress County, glad to have you joining us. Abby, hi from East Brainerd. Look at this, we got August, Paisley, Colt, and Jude. We also want to say a special hello to Delta, who was watching yesterday and hopefully is watching today. Look at this, we have arrived. This has been a world trip. We've gone all the way around the world to Eastern Africa, to the world's second deepest lake. It's a freshwater lake, has an incredible variety of fish. A lot of them are very active today. This is a very special treat to see these active fish out and about. We're going to do something very special here in a little bit. We're going to feed these guys. So joining us today is one of our experts, and this is Kimberly Hurt. Kimberly, many people may know you as Miguel Watson's caretaker.
I did get a little bit of fame from that, but I do like to pretend that Miguel himself got most of the fame.
That's right. Olivia and Eleanor, thanks for watching from Nashville. Adelie and Ayla from Dalton, thanks for watching. You're here with Kimberly Hurt, and Kimberly's one of our experts, and guess what? She gets to take care of all these fish. So Kimberly, why don't you just kind of give us a broad overview of the Lake Tanganyika exhibit and the wonderful fish that are inside there.
Sure. So Lake Tanganyika itself is located in Africa. The Congo River drainage basin drains into Lake Tanganyika itself. Lake Tanganyika is pretty isolated, so it gets a lot of really interesting fish that are endemic only to Lake Tanganyika. I think the number was there's 250 species of endemic cichlids. We do feature a lot of them here, but not only do we have the cichlids, we have a lot of big players in here that people are really fond of. The giant freshwater puffer lives in here. He's a big favorite. We have the tigerfish, a really voracious predator who hangs out with all these guys. And we have the bikers in here as well, a really ancient type of fish that kind of looks like a dinosaur to me. So
while we're talking about the Lake Tanganyika exhibit, we just got a question. Do you know how many species of fish there are in the Amazon River? This is from Hayden White from Johnson City.
I don't take care of many Amazon fish, so I can't answer that question for you, but we will make sure to get back to you with that answer.
Yeah, Hayden, hang in there. We'll try to answer this following this live discussion as we get that information from one of our other experts. But one of the fun things about this exhibit is it has all kinds of crazy fish names. So, Kimberly, tell us about this word here. It's lemon. What is that?
So that word is pronounced cichlid.
Cichlid, but you hear it pronounced all kinds of ways, don't you?
I get lots of interesting people trying to come up with their own pronunciation for it. So I hear chiclet a lot. I also hear chi-child, but the proper pronunciation for that is cichlid.
All right, which one of these fish is a cichlid? Can you point one out?
So several of these here are cichlids. If you can see these guys that have the large blue and white stripes, they're going to be some of our humphead cichlids. There are quite a few different cichlids in this tank. The ID you showed was the lemon cichlid. That's these bright yellow guys. Lemon obviously pointing to their bright yellow color.
That's awesome. We have a question from August. August is asking, what do these fish eat? And so why don't we just go ahead and grab that container, because guess what? Kimberly has their food handy and she's got it right here for us. And we're going to show you that there's all kinds of food that we're feeding here today.
So these fish get a big variety of food. Most of what we're feeding them is going to be medium cut pieces of things like clam, fish, shrimp, squid. We also do some larger pieces, some whole shrimp, some big gel cubes for some of our bigger guys like the tigerfish and the puffer. And we also take some of the food and kind of blend it down almost into a mushy paste for all the guys that have little teeny tiny mouths.
I have to laugh because it looks like they see the food and are like, hey, why don't you get up here in the cafe and start feeding? It's lunchtime.
We definitely think that fish can tell time. They always tend to get active around when their normal feeding time would be, so these guys are really anxious waiting for us.
All right, for the kids out there watching, do you think that this looks like it'd be a good lunch? You think that would be something you'd want to eat? Tell you what, all these fish think it's going to be a fantastic lunch. And Kimberly, before you go back there to start feeding, let's talk about some of these fish that are right in front of us right now. Two big ones. Let's start with this guy here that almost looks like a balloon.
So you're focusing on our Discocotus. These guys grow pretty large and they're interesting, and you can look at their mouth shape. You notice how their snout is kind of downturned and the mouth is on the underside of their body. These guys are mostly bottom feeders and they're eating things like worms and mollusks, so they have a very specialized diet.
You said that's Discocotus?
Discocotus.
Discocotus.
Again, lots of weird names in this tank specifically.
Well, I wouldn't say they're weird names, they're fun names.
Interesting names.
Try saying Discocotus 3 times fast. This is a cool one here. Oh, let's do this because somebody said, I'd love to see the puffer's mouth real close. So this is a freshwater puffer in the Lake Tanganyika exhibit inside the Rivers of the World Gallery. And these guys have so much personality, Kimberly.
These guys, they're the giant freshwater puffer. Again, they get up to over 2 feet in length, and this guy does have a ton of personality. He's always very curious. Anytime I go up to feed, he's one of the first few to pop up top. And I didn't get to show you, but I can show you in a second. We have special food that we feed to him. These guys are kind of like rodents. They have teeth in their mouth that continually grow over time, so they have to gnaw on things to get those teeth shortened. So we actually feed them clam that still has the shell attached to it so that they can chew and gnaw on that to grind their teeth down.
They're beautiful fish.
Here, I can show you.
Yeah.
These small clams here still have the shell on them, and there's some meat within the shell. That's what they use to grind those teeth down.
That's awesome. Good question. Since we do have Kimberly here, she's asking, what does Miguel Watson, the electric eel, eat?
So Miguel actually eats a lot of the same seafood pieces. So things like smelt and shrimp and clam. Pretty much all of the mixture of seafood that we feed goes to almost all of the residents of the aquarium. Very rarely are they getting something special like the sharks. They get large bonita, large mackerel. But for everybody else that's smaller inside, they're getting these smaller in size, they're getting these same foods.
Okay.
Clam, shrimp,
And the question is, how long do you think that the freshwater puffer lives? What's their average lifespan?
You know, I don't know that one.
Okay.
I would have to look that one up too. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to
All right.
that.
Amy, thanks for watching. One of our weekend aquarium guides is watching from home in Chattanooga. And we miss you too. We miss our visitors. Kimberly was saying earlier that this is a great opportunity here on Facebook Live for our experts to connect with our guests and really talk to people one-on-one, because believe it or not, that's one of their favorite parts of their job every day, is when aquarium guests are here and can talk to folks and really have those conversations about these cool animals. We have two that are very special, Kimberly. Tell me about this guy right back here who looks like he's doing push-ups on that rock back there.
So these guys are called bichères or bikers. There's a lot of different ways to pronounce that name. These are a very ancient fish. So if you look at them, they kind of almost look like dinosaurs. They have those big scales, fins that look like they almost could walk on those fins.
We got one coming right towards us right now.
These guys have functional lungs. So what they will do is go out to the surface, take a gulp of air, and that helps them get some of their oxygen. Very ancient, very cool fish. Some of my favorite types of fish.
But you were saying that even though they do have some type of primitive lung, it's different than Miguel Watson. And Miguel, the electric eel, is what we call an obligate air breather. What's that mean?
So being an obligate air breather means that Miguel has to go up and take a breath of air. He gets most of his oxygen from that. With these guys, it's an optional thing. They can take in air and get oxygen from that, but they also do have some form of gills that they can get oxygen from that as well. So where they get their oxygen from kind of depends on what situation they're in and what their water quality is like.
Ed wants to know, is the water temperature regulated? Yes, it is. And Susan asks, what is the temperature of the water?
So this tank right now is running about 78. We do a little bit of seasonal variation on the temperature in this exhibit, but 78 for now. Nice warm bathwater temperature.
Which is interesting because even though this lake is tremendously deep, there's only a few degrees difference in the surface water from the bottom water, because Lake Tanganyika is located in that Rift Valley of Africa where there's a lot of geothermal activity. So the volcanic activity beneath the lake actually keeps the water at the bottom almost as warm as the water at the top, which is pretty unusual for a lake that's almost 5,000 feet deep.
There's an interesting feature of that deep water in Lake Tanganyika as well. Some of it is referred to as fossil water, and it's very old water that does not mix well with the upper layers of water, and it's almost devoid of oxygen. So it's thought that a lot of fish don't live in that layer of the lake, but fish have been caught there before, and scientists aren't quite sure how they're able to live in that really low oxygen water. So another really interesting fun fact about this tank.
All right, so someone asked, how do you feed them? So let's just follow Kimberly. What we're going to do is follow Kimberly back so you can see that you have to be kind of an athlete to be an aquarist here at the Tennessee Aquarium. And I say that because these tanks are pretty deep, and as a result, Kimberly's going to climb up on this platform, and then she's going to feed the fish from the other side. So what we're going to do is show you Kimberly climbing up the ladder here to the platform. She's going to go above the tank and actually feed. I'm going to take you around to the other side. We'll actually see we'll see the food, and then Kimberly will be back out to answer a few questions. But this is great. Love having people watching from Tuscaloosa. Good afternoon. And thank you, Becky, for checking up and doing a little information searching for us. We'll double check that 10 years is the proper length, but there you can see the freshwater puffer being fed with those tongs. And Kimberly's feeding the puffer first. Remember, she had those clams with the hard shell to wear down those teeth. And the freshwater puffer is enjoying getting fed first. And you can tell that the activity really ramps up here as the food is being introduced into the exhibit. Wendy, welcome. Thanks for watching from Cookeville. We're at the Lake Tanganyika exhibit, and it's a feeding frenzy. It's on. Montgomery, Alabama. Thanks for watching. Check it out. It's quite a frenzy in there right now. Here comes some of the gel food over here. I'm sort of glad that my favorite restaurant doesn't serve customers this way, where they just kind of sling the food out and everybody has to rush the table to get it. But this is fun to watch, and it's a great opportunity for everybody to see how we feed these animals in the Lake Tanganyika exhibit, one of the biggest exhibits in the Rivers of the World gallery. Watching from Pittsburgh, Shauna, thanks for watching. This is great. They are beautiful. Candy, thanks for watching. Look at all these little guys right here. West Point, Mississippi, thank you. Yes, there's the puffer in the background. one of our favorites too. Candy, we wish you were here too. We'll get there. We can't wait to welcome guests back when it's safe for everyone. Brian, good friend Brian Masaga is watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everything's good in Ohio. Samantha, thanks for watching from Middle Tennessee. Dawson Springs, Kentucky. Dwayne, thanks for tuning in. Gadsden, thank you. Liz, thanks for watching from Nashville. Tell your friends that we're going to be doing this every day at 1 o'clock. Going to be providing live feeds. We also have our Aquarium at Home page, which has a lot of activity sheets for kids, other video links to our live cameras and some of our other exhibits. A lot of fun stuff happening on our website right now. We invite you all to check it out. Right from our home page, you can see Aquarium at Home. Now, I'll tell you, Kimberly, this food went pretty fast, and as we look up here where the puffer is, there's one of a very cool fish that's kind of being blocked by the puffer right now.
So
I love giraffes, and this is a giraffe fish.
Yes, so this is one of our giraffe catfish. They're also known as boo-boo, is one of the other common names for them. So these guys, again, if you look at the position of their mouths, they have a very subterminal mouth, a mouth that is underneath their body. So you notice there was kind of a platform in the tank there that I tried to drop a lot of food on. That's to encourage those bottom feeders to come up and have a small bottom that they can eat off of that isn't all the way down at the very bottom of the tank. Because if you notice, not much food made it to the full bottom of the tank. These guys have to come up so that they can get a bite of food as well.
Yeah, so this one right here that's coming over the log, right there.
That's
with the
our
spots.
giraffe catfish.
Giraffe catfish, love it. Otherwise known as the boo-boo catfish. Hey, boo-boo.
So this type of feed we do 3 days out of the week. The rest of the week, they're either getting pellet food or they're getting what we call small foods, as prepackaged fish food. Things like you can buy at the pet store for your home fish, bloodworms and mysids, smaller, more concise pieces of food that we can throw in for some of the little guys. The big fish in here really don't need to eat every day. A lot of fish have a slow metabolism, they don't need that much food. So doing this heavy feed 3 times a week is totally normal for most of our larger exhibits. Kimberly, how many teeth does the freshwater puffer have approximately? So the puffer has 4 teeth. Their genus name is actually Tetraodon, which means 4 teeth. And if he comes up, we'll be able to see, but you can see there's 4 distinct teeth within his mouth, and that's what he uses to crush those clams or mollusks. And I hope you could see it at the start. I used tongs to put clams and some whole shrimp in there so that he could get those grinding teeth on the hard shell to keep them down to size. So one other fish that's pretty dramatic in here, it's coming right by, this guy with this tiger stripes, the tiger fish. And boy, if you could look close at that fish has some pretty impressive choppers. He does have some scary teeth. They're often compared to piranha teeth, very small, very pointed teeth that fit together. And these guys can actually reach about 3.5 feet in length. They can get to be very large fish. And you can see with their very torpedo body shape, they're very agile, very fast, very aggressive predators. These guys are in fact one of the only fish that has been seen to catch and eat birds that are flying above the water. Wait a minute, catch and eat a bird that was flying above the water? How do they do that? So it actually is a really amazing feat. These guys have to be able to see the birds flying above them, track them at the correct speed, jump up out of the water, still keeping an eye on the bird, grab them and jump back into the water. So you have to imagine they are very athletic, very excellent predators to be able to manage that. And I believe they're one of the only fish species that is known to do that. That's great. Somebody's asking, how do you clean the tanks? How is that done? So that's a lot of fun. We actually have to get into the tank on scuba and do cleaning manually ourselves. So I think it's about I would say maybe twice a month we get in here, and we actually take scrub brushes to the walls of the tank. We scrub, we kick the gravel around and vacuum the gravel as needed. So very manual labor, but it's very rewarding labor too. I love getting into one of my tanks. I get to see all the fish that spend a lot of time hiding. It's kind of a fun game of hide and seek of, oh, I haven't seen that fish in a couple weeks. He's just been hiding back behind a rock where I couldn't see him. So we've got a question. How can you tell male from female? And I'm guessing that this is in regards to the giant freshwater puffer.
So with the puffers, I don't know that there is a way to tell them apart, male and female. A lot of fish are not sexually dimorphic. That means that they can't be told apart just looking at them externally. Some fish are, a lot of cichlids are sexually dimorphic. Some of the cichlids, not necessarily the hump heads, but some cichlids do grow that nuchal hump on their head, the big large lump. The males grow those more predominantly as a, hey look, I'm a really good looking fish, you should have babies with me. In here, all of the hump head cichlids grow that hump, so you can't really tell them apart either. But there are some fish that are sexually dimorphic. Darters are a good example of that.
Jackson, age 7, wants to know if any of these fish in this exhibit are poisonous.
Poisonous. So the pufferfish can actually be considered toxic poisonous. That's what Japan is known for. They eat fugu, they eat pufferfish, and they have chefs that are very skilled to give you a small enough piece of pufferfish meat that the toxin isn't enough to hurt you. So the pufferfish in here could be considered toxic. I believe that all puffers in that family group are somewhat toxic, but I don't think anybody in here is big enough to pose a threat to eat that puffer in this tank. So.
All right, we got a great question from Levi, who's age 8, wants to know how all these fish get along together.
So they get along because they have a lot of space to spread out in, and you will notice that the fish do kind of have spatial niches in the tank. So if you watch, the tigerfish spends a lot of time kind of in the medium level of the tank, and you'll see a lot of the guys, the smaller cichlids, stay down lower and away from him. That's because he is a predator. They do want to stay away from him, but these guys have lots of space to spread out, and you look at the bottom, there's lots of rocks and crevices and cracks for them to hide in. So these guys are able to all coexist because there's lots of different habitats within the tank for them to choose where they would like to live.
So again, another question that I would assume is related to the giant freshwater puffer. How long do they grow? And I would assume that, oh, there you go. Yeah, that's great.
He's showing off his teeth right there. You can see the 4 distinct teeth. So these guys are known to get to about 2 feet in length. I think 26 inches is the max known length on them.
Looks like he might still be chewing on that clam. He's chewing on something, it looks like.
Working on those teeth.
What I like about them is it almost looks like they have a built-in maze.
Yeah, they do have a really interesting pattern, and a lot of people think that pattern is to signal to predators, hey, I am toxic, I am poisonous, so please don't eat me. But it is a very beautiful pattern.
Do you think that those patterns are unique to individuals, like maybe the fish would be able to recognize each other based on the pattern?
Definitely. So fish have distinct patterning. Even though if you just are glancing at these fish, if you spend time watching them every day, you can definitely tell individuals apart. I can do that. Some of the snakeheads we just put into our invasive species exhibit, I can tell all 3 of them apart, even though they look very similar, because they do have very distinct markings on them.
And Candy, yeah, it did look like he was smiling at everyone.
He does have that really funny open mouth. It's interesting to see him yawn as well. You'll see those teeth and jaw kind of project out of his mouth. It's really strange to watch.
Someone asking, what do salmon eat?
Salmon. So salmon, depending on where they are in their life, will eat different things. You know, they spend some time out in the ocean, and they, I believe, are more predatory fish, just eating smaller fish. But they do spend some time in freshwater and eat freshwater fish as well.
Samuel, we do have some snakeheads in our invasive species exhibit, also in the River Journey building. Question is, do they try to eat each other?
So I'm sure it does happen on occasion, but we do a really good job of feeding our tanks very well to make sure that everyone is well fed. Again, I mentioned we do that heavy feed 3 times a week, and then every other day of the week we're feeding smaller items to the smaller fish in here. So everyone stays really well fed, they're well satiated. I don't think they would want to choose to hunt down a tank mate when they could wait for food just to come by to them the next day.
Lacey, age 5, would like to know how many fish are in this exhibit. So let's try counting here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there's a lot in there. How
it's
many?
Impossible to count what's in here too, because a bunch of these fish are breeding all of the time as well. So I do want to point out, you can see some of the smaller ventralis cichlids. There's little bitty babies darting around kind of high up in the water column.
Would you call them ventralis
These
cichlids?
are ventralis cichlids.
That's what I was going to say.
So there's also the humphead cichlids breed in here regularly, and if you come down here, you can see there's small itty bitty striped guys hanging around some of the rocks. Those are small baby humpheads. So there's lots of good hiding places in this tank for small fish, so these guys do a lot of breeding, a lot of baby raising. The humheads are really interesting too in that they are mouth brooders. So when they lay eggs, the female keeps the eggs in her mouth and raises the tiny babies actually within her mouth. So she does not eat while the babies are in her mouth. But what that does is that protects the babies from any other potential predators and makes them really good at getting their babies to a bigger size.
Abby, age 8, asked the same question, and the answer again is there's a lot of fish in here. There's our puffer again saying hi. Look at those teeth. There's a lot of fish in here, and because they keep having babies, it's really hard to know exactly how many are in here right now.
Yeah, there's not really a good way to get an official count on how many fish we have in here. Too many to count is the answer.
What's the most common predator of salmon?
Of salmon?
Probably orcas.
Yeah, in the water, I would say orcas, but I know that grizzlies and
Grizzly
wolves
bears, yeah.
catch salmon and eat them for their really nutritious roe.
Eagles would be another one,
Exactly.
especially during the time when they're swimming upstream to spawn. There is a question here about if fish can tell if bad weather is coming, like a tornado had a few weeks ago. Well, there are some things that happen with fish that cause them to stop feeding. They have a swim bladder that's impacted by barometric pressure, and so there are some changes that occur with fish. We do have some information on our website that talks about weather folklore, both the weather folklore fact and the weather folklore fiction. And so there's all kinds of information on our website about that if you use the search feature on the Tennessee Aquarium website.
Another thing is you could definitely imagine if fish are in stormy weather, their water is going to be really kicked up, really turbid, so the water is going to be more difficult to see through as well. So even if they're not feeling well enough to eat, they might not be able to eat because they couldn't find food to get a hold of.
Yeah, and in ocean situations too, Kimberly, a lot of times the ocean currents change and it causes patterns for their behavior to change as well, especially with large hurricanes that churn up the water column. Even into relatively deep water, that changes the ocean currents, and you will see fish leaving some shallower reefs for deeper water prior to a hurricane approaching. So Ashlyn, age 8, wants to know if they fight over food sometimes.
So it does happen every now and then. You'll see some smaller fish manage to snag a really large piece of food, and they will carry that piece around for them for a little while, trying to bite it down into smaller pieces, and you'll see other fish try to snatch that chunk of food straight out of their mouth. So it does happen, but again, we feed so much food into here that all of these guys are getting plenty of food that they really don't have to fight over food if they don't want to.
Susan, thanks for the comment. She says that she'd like to thank us for our conservation efforts, and actually we are planning one of these Facebook Lives very soon out at our Tennessee Aquarium Conservation Institute to talk about some of the lake sturgeon that are out there, and we've got other species that we are raising at the Conservation Institute to return to waters here in the southeast to bolster those populations. And we also have a lot of work going on right now with turtles, and we'll be talking more about turtle conservation work coming up as well. We just got a few more minutes here. If anybody has any questions or comments they'd like to share with us, we'll try to get those in before we wrap things up. Again, I would like to remind everybody that although we don't know when it'll be safe to reopen, this is a challenging time for the Tennessee Aquarium. We have our experts here loving on the animals and providing expert care for them, taking care of all their needs. It is quite expensive to run a public aquarium this size, this magnitude, world-class facility. So we would encourage anyone who would like to support the aquarium to go to the aquarium's website. The Donate Now box is in the upper right-hand corner. It'll take you right to our Emergency Operations Fund. It gives you an opportunity to help support the animal care that's going on during this temporary closure, during this national health emergency. Again, we appreciate everybody staying connected with the Tennessee Aquarium. Got a lot of resources on our Aquarium at Home page. It's right on the front page of our website. There's some sheets that you can download, some activities for kids, a lot of fun education materials, some links to IMAX films that are available to stream on services. So there's just a ton of stuff. We know it's a tough time for everybody, but we're hoping that these opportunities put a smile on your face and let you have some learning time with your kiddos and some fun as well, and certainly gives you a chance to really see our animals and see what's going on during this time of public closure here at the Tennessee Aquarium. Again, thanks everybody for watching. We're going to wrap it up right now, and we hope that you'll join us again tomorrow at 1 o'clock for another Facebook Live from the Tennessee Aquarium in downtown Chattanooga.